Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Hafley as always. After, it's been 6-7 hours at this point, 6.5 hours of free agency day, and still not a ton has happened. Certainly not with the Avs, but league-wide, outside of the goaltending market, there just have not been a lot of big names signed. But we still got a show to do, AJ.
Yeah. Total dollars spent today so far, according to Cap Friendly, is $195 million.
On a bunch of dudes.
I think about half of that was Matt Murray's contract, and the other half was
Markstrom's contract. Yeah, two big goalie signings. I guess Holtby might get in for a piece of that pie too, but
yeah, fair enough. I mean, both Holtby and Talbot were like meaningful money,
and that is 4 goaltenders. I think Shattenkirk got the biggest contract of a skater at 3 years, $3.9 million.
$3.9 million as the biggest day one free agency signing.
Yeah, which is so weird and backwards and nonsensical in every sense of the word. So
yeah, I know like Justin Schultz got $4 million, but over just 2 years.
Right.
A lot of those types of deals.
Yeah.
Lots of short-term stuff, man. And outside of goaltenders, 0 big dominoes have fallen.
Yeah. Not Hall, not Pietrangelo, not even like the next tier of guys like Toffoli, Craig Smith, TJ Brody, those types.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a stretched out situation. And this wasn't fully unexpected on at least the super high echelon of Hall and Pietrangelo. There was an expectation that they would take their time with this decision to some extent.
With no tampering period, we're back to the top free agents going on tours and shit. And, here's our Zoom conference call, and now you have to come to our city and see our facilities.
Yep, exactly.
Taylor Hall going to get won over by Lollipop Park.
Lollipop Park's shutting down.
What?
Yeah, they're auctioning off all of the amusement rides and everything.
That breaks my heart. Well, that is so much for free agency for the Avs.
It's over now.
Yeah.
It's done.
They don't even need to go. They don't even need to bother anymore.
Caleb asks what your setup is. I'm curious. I don't know what your setup is now, but I know you're planning on getting a new setup at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what you're targeting, but
you'll see.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's start with the Avs signings. This will be quick. The Avs did re-sign Sheldon Dries to not anything special. I think he just accepted his QO, actually. And then they added 3 essentially AHL guys. Maybe you're talking about a couple of tweeners here in Kiefer Sherwood, Mike Vecchione, and Mika Salamaki. So
I was on mute, my bad.
Yay for the Eagles.
Yeah, so to me, this looks like you're looking at a top 6 of the Eagles of something like Salamaki, Sherwood, Vecchione, Greer,
Bowers,
Dries, and Bowers.
Yeah.
With, depending on where he goes, with Logan O'Connor.
Yep.
Maybe Martin Kaut.
Dudes sprinkled in there as the rosters get solidified. Yeah.
Definitely. Those guys also in there, depending on just how things go. Hopefully they chill. Like, hopefully that's about it.
Yeah, I don't think they need more at this point for the AHL tier.
Yeah, because and hopefully the AHL contracts are limited.
Yeah,
hopefully there's not. You can fully expect there to be like 2 or 3.
There always are.
Yeah, but hopefully they're the Julian Nantel types and not the Eric Condra types.
Yeah, kids that can play in your bottom 6 and
guys that you fully expect to shuffle back and forth between Utah and Colorado depending on the ads.
Yep. for sure.
Because you want to give time to Ty Lewis. You want to give time to Travis Barron. You especially want to give. Oh, I forgot about TJ Tynan. He'll be in that top 6, of course.
Yeah.
And you definitely want to give time to Nick Henry, especially.
Well,
give him real time.
There it is, AJ. We went live. The first big domino falls. TJ Brody to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Jesus.
Per Elliot Friedman. Still waiting on numbers and years and all of that. But it only took 7 hours for a real skater to go somewhere.
The big thing that should do is that's one more Pietrangelo.
Yeah, Pietrangelo out in Toronto now for sure.
And that, not that that's a Colorado conversation. We've talked about this over and over. It never really was. But I am curious. You know, TJ Brody was the guy they tried to trade Kadri for last summer, and Kadri said no. So now they got him for free.
Yep.
A year later.
Matt Cook asks, in a perfect world, could there's a word in front of that. I suppose I should specify for the not live crowd.
Yeah.
It's not a Matt Cook fan, a very anti-Matt Cook fan based on the word in front of that name. In a perfect world, could Lewis and Henry be top 6 guys in the AHL?
Henry, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I think Henry could be if he develops and things work out. Lewis is pretty much done.
Yeah.
Which
I would just prefer to play that guy in your game in ELC, play him. Same thing with Barron.
Exactly.
Well, next year, I think that they're going to be. There's going to be so many forwards there. Yeah,
with all the guys they have potentially coming in, it's going to be crowded.
Yeah.
So
curious what this Brody to Toronto money ends up looking like.
Yeah.
Like, because I had it at what, 4 years, 5.5 to 6 million.
Yep. Hasn't come in yet. We'll have to wait and see.
But anyway, AHL guys, Sheldon Dries comes back. Whatever, it's fine.
Yep, Dries comes back. He'll be a guy. The new guys are all. They have NHL experience, but it's pretty limited, and there's not a lot of upside to them, really.
The frustration should probably set in when Sheldon Dries is on the opening night roster and Martin Kaut isn't.
Yeah, that's a problem. But
that's when you start to get annoyed, or TJ Tynan, whichever one of those guys end up picking over Kaut. When
you sign a bunch of dudes to play in the AHL, that's fine. When they're beating out prospects that have proven they're ready for NHL roles, you got a problem.
Even ahead of Bowers at this point, it's going to be a sour taste. Like
it is.
You took that guy to the bubble because you're trying to tell him we're good. We're ready for you to be a guy for us.
Yep. So to randomly drop 3 dudes in front of him would feel pretty bad.
Yep.
So that's where the Avs stand right now. Look, the expectation is more is going to happen, not just for the Avs, but for around the league over the next couple of days. It's just going to have to wait and see, play things out. We'll see if one domino falls and things start to move and shake a little bit quicker, or if everyone's just kind of going at their own pace here. But, I mean, there's still a lot of dudes out there.
Yeah, this is really the first, I guess, Shattenkirk and Brody are really the only, like, impact guys.
Yep.
That are off the market at this point. So,
yeah, others, guys still on the market here include players like Corey Crawford in the goalie market. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But Mikael Granlund, Tyson Barrie, Torrey Krug, Mike Hoffman, Alex Galchenyuk, Sammy Vatanen. Yeah, Craig Smith, Cody Ceci, Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, Toffoli is really one of the dominoes I'm keeping a close eye on here.
Yep. And I mean, even a little bit further down, guys like Matt Nieto still on the board. So a lot of work still to be done for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I think.
I will say, this is the exact kind of environment that ends up with Vlad Nemesnikov coming back on a 1-year deal
kind of
for
cheap deal.
$2.5 million or something.
Because he doesn't have any quality offers. Yeah.
Yeah. This is exactly the kind of environment where something like that happens.
Yep, I agree with that. find someone for cheap. Play the market a little bit for sure.
Yeah, like a 1-year deal, I think is where some of these cats are headed. 1 or 2, depending on expansion draft and the team's needs and all that.
Sure. And the specifics can be hard to really nail down, but general ballpark.
As much as we don't, I would say the bad news about this Brody thing is that as much as we don't want Toronto, just because it's fun to watch them flounder every year, but as much as you don't want good things to happen to them, Pietrangelo going there also meant that Pietrangelo stays out of the West.
Yep.
And that's a deep cut right off the top to St. Louis.
Yep.
Because if he goes from St. Louis to Vegas, it doesn't really help you.
Right. The Avs still have to go through that team in the playoffs. Like
it just changes the focus of which team you're most worried about.
Yep.
So we'll see.
We'll see, I think is what every GM in the league except for like Florida is saying right now, basically.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of teams that were making big moves until Toronto did this one. I'm looking through the list of guys who got picked up, and there really aren't that many. Most guys just kind of re-signing their guys or making little nibbling pieces around the edges, except for the goaltender market. So
Toronto had $3.9 million in cap space before that signing. So
are they over and just planning on moving somebody? Yeah.
Well, and that's with Mikheyev and Dermott.
Unsigned.
Have unsigned. So
they have some work to do to say
that'll be their 7th defenseman, but that's also with Callie Rosen and Martin Marincin still and Timothy Liljegren on the roster. You chop those dudes off, and there goes.
Pagnotta doesn't have the year, but he says it's a $5 million AAV on Brody.
So I had it pretty close.
Yep, not far off.
I like his tweet. It's a something.
Yeah, it's a year deal. It's a something.
Yeah, because I had said 4x5 is what I would have wanted him on in Colorado.
So Toronto going to be over the cap then, at least in the immediate.
Yeah, or even if they cut those 3 guys off, even if they cut Liljegren, Rosen, and Marincin off, they'll be right. They'll be right on top.
Right about at the cap, yeah.
With dudes to sign, so that necessitates another move. Them moving out a Kerfoot or an Andreas Janssen, Zach Hyman, whoever.
Yep. So. Yeah, I think that's the takeaway from today mostly is a lot of work still to be done. But we can take our first period break there, as it is time to acknowledge Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. I've had a few today, sipping on a vanilla porter right now. Always tasty stuff. You can get your Breckenridge brew if you're local down at the farmhouse in Littleton, straight from the source. You can even get curbside pickup and get $5 off when you use code DNVR when you give them a call at 303-803-1380. Or if you're out of state, you can always use the Breckenridge Beer Locator online on their website to find a liquor store near you that carries them. And, of course, we also have our gaming sponsor, WGT Golf, which now loved by more than 20 million people around the world. So you can jump in and play anytime you want. We have over 700 members now in the 3 DNVR clubhouses. Go to DNVR Golf and search for DNVR 3 in the game to join the clubhouse. Tons of different modes, tons of awesome courses to play, and there's always people jumping around and trying to win on DNVR Golf. It looks like it is a 4x5, AJ, so well done. Moving on through the rest of free agency, let's talk about the one thing that did happen today, and that was the goalie market. It's not fully sorted out, but there have been some significant moves when it comes to that. The Avs not particularly involved in it, but the carousel is in full swing with the 2 major moves. Is first of all, Matt Murray getting signed by Ottawa to a $25 million total contract over 4 years. So that's $6.25 million cap hit per year for Matt Murray, which is big money. And kind of following suit a little bit longer, Jacob Markstrom going to Calgary, signing a 6-year deal at a $6 million flat cap hit.
Dope.
Goalies ain't coming cheap, man.
It's interesting to me that somebody watched this postseason, that these teams watched this postseason where Thatcher Demko almost stole the series.
Yep.
That Anton Khudobin led a team to the Stanley Cup final. That Michael Hutchinson almost brought a team back from a 3-1 deficit.
Goalie nonsense going on. Yeah.
Somebody watched that these NHL general managers watched this happen and thought, I need a goalie. I need to pay
goalie
top dollar
money. Yeah.
I need to pay top dollar for goaltending. To me, like Vancouver losing out on Markstrom and then going and getting Braden Holtby.
Yep.
For
$4.3 million.
Yeah, $4.3 million
for 2 years
on a 2-year deal. Like that, to me, that struck me as maybe the smartest piece of business of the day.
Yeah.
As much as I'm iffy on Holtby reverting back to previous form, that is the kind of commitment that you make to a guy that you don't have full confidence in, especially when you have a Thatcher Demko still sitting on your roster.
You're not stuck under that contract a couple of years from now.
Exactly. And then that sets it. Look, if Thatcher Demko plays great next year, then you protect him and Holtby is prime expansion draft fodder. If the opposite happens and Holtby plays great and Demko's not very good, then you protect Holtby and Demko is prime expansion draft fodder.
Yep.
It works out very nicely for them, similarly to how the Avs are set up. It doesn't really matter which guy plays better next year. As long as one of them steps up and does the job, that's the one that you protect.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
I think it's pretty straightforward for them. They've set themselves up well. Those are kind of the big ones. Holtby being the third, with Markstrom and Murray, who was really an RFA, but just got paid big money by Ottawa. But around the league, beyond that, you have a couple other things. Cam Talbot, relevant to the Avs, going to Minnesota at 3.67 for the next 3 years. I don't think the Avs are too worried about that one.
Yeah. When people, I don't think Philip Grubauer, this and that. Philip Grubauer is going to make less money than Cam Talbot.
Yep. That's pretty crazy.
That's kind of just all I have to say about it.
So
that dude's gonna be at least the platoon in Minnesota with Alex Stalock. Like, all right, man.
Avs don't mind facing that at 7 times a year or whatever.
Yeah. When is Shane Wright's draft class? It's 2022, right?
Yeah, it's 22.
Okay.
So they're a little early on the tank, unless they want.
I'm gonna say this feels like they're setting up for it right now.
Hey, that's why they gave them 3 years.
Yeah, he is 22 because that's where this is headed. They are setting themselves up for Shane Wright territory.
The old man that a lot of people in Avs land wanted, Henrik Lundqvist, ends up going to Washington, which was rumored before today. $1.5 million to go be their backup.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Not too much to say about that one.
Cool with that, man. They can enjoy. That's a situation that made a lot of sense because they have a number one guy, but he's really young.
Yep.
And you get an experienced guy like Lundqvist to come in and he can kind of be an ear for him, right? He's seen everything, he's done everything, he's a Hall of Famer. And hey, if they get into the playoffs, they get frisky and they go on to win a cup, the guy wins the Stanley Cup. You think he's going to complain that he was the backup? No. So that's a great landing spot for him. It's a great situation for him. He makes a lot of sense there. All of the reasons why he makes sense in Washington were the reasons he did not make sense in Colorado.
Pretty much.
So that's all good and well. I'm happy for him. I think that's awesome.
Yep. Continuing on, Anton Khudobin ended up staying in Dallas for 3 more years at about a 3 point something cap hit. I forget the exact number. But It's 3.33. There you go. $10 million over 3 years. So
kind of on the heavy end, I think.
It feels this feels like we just made the Stanley Cup Finals and we'll run it back, basically.
Like for a 34-year-old backup who just had maybe the 2 months of his life.
Right. Played fantastically in the regular season and then in rounds 1 and 3 of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, not sure if I'd be feeling great about that if I was Dallas, but
it's perfectly fine Ben Bishop insurance, but now they have both of those guys signed for 3 years.
And they have a lot of money invested.
And they've got first round pick Jake Ottinger is already has
one of those playoff games. Yeah.
Well, and he already has over 40 games of AHL experience.
Yep.
Like this is a conversation where they need to start looking for a route for promotion for Jake Ottinger, and maybe not next year, but when you have 2 guys who are signed for the next 3 years, you don't have an open pathway for that guy to break in and take a job here.
Yep.
Unless your plan, and Ben Bishop has an NMC. And I feel pretty decent that Seattle's going to look at Dallas's roster and not be like, we've got to have Kudo.
Yeah, I think there are going to be other things on the table there, particularly because on the forward side, Tyler Seguin, NMC, Jamie Benn, NMC, Joe Pavelski, NMC, Alexander Radulov, NMC. So they can't let any of those older guys hang out there and not be exposed.
And right now, you would probably think that their protects are Faksa, Hansen, Gurionov, the other 3.
Yep.
With maybe Jason Dickinson.
Sure. But even then, like, they have to protect those 4 dudes on the forward side. So unless they want to do the 8 skater thing, they're going to protect Heiskanen. They're going to protect Heiskanen's eligible, right?
Yeah. It would be Heiskanen, Lindell, and Klingberg on their defense.
Right. So that leaves
the obvious candidates are Khudobin, Alexiak, and then the forward that they don't protect.
Yep.
And this is of course before they sign anybody this offseason.
Right. That they could potentially add outside of Khudobin, which we'll see. But a team in a very precarious spot, I think, which we've talked about before a little bit. But throughout the rest of the Central Division, there just hasn't been a ton going on. I guess Winnipeg went out and got Stastny last night, kind of.
Yeah, Winnipeg. So Winnipeg was some interesting moves. Obviously, the Stastny thing, that's their 2C. That was arguably their biggest hole that was possible for them to fill.
Yep. Brian Little being ruled out from playing hockey next season, by the way. Or at least doctors recommend he don't play hockey next season.
So that gives them a legit top 6. That gives them Scheifele and Stastny down the middle. And then they've got Wheeler, Connor, Laine, and Ehlers on the wings. That's a legit top 6. Matthew Perreault, Adam Lowry, Adam Kopp, Roslovic, Harkins, and Appleton. Those are all that's a fine bottom 6. They're fine there.
Yep.
What's problematic is they need Neil Pionk to repeat the year that he did. Dylan DeMello, as much of it was like a breakout year for him, that was still a rich contract to give out to a guy that is probably still a bottom pairing guy. And then they brought back Nathan Beaulieu and Lucas Pisa. Which
those are kind of just dudes on the defense side.
This is like when Colorado had a whole bunch of third pairing defensemen where it was like, okay, like this is all good and well. These guys are fine third pairing defenders, but when you have 5 of them,
when you're asking 3 of them to play 20 minutes a night plus, you have a problem.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. So the Jets defense remains their biggest question mark. Josh Morrissey certainly needs a better year this year than what he had last season.
Yep.
And then, Connor Hellebuyck, obviously, it's asking a lot for him to have the year that he just had. he's capable of it. But if you need that guy to have that year to be successful, just to be playoff competitive, haven't done enough yet.
It's not great. And the rest of the century, I mean, that's pretty much it. The Avs took care of some in-house stuff and some AHL guys. Chicago, pretty much the same thing. St. Louis hasn't done anything. They're supposedly still talking to Pietrangelo and trying to get him to come back, but they haven't made any moves. Nashville made some kind of edge picky move. They signed Borowiecki and Matt Benning to round out the bottom pair of their defense.
Yep. Each two got 2-year deals. $3 million. Benning got the mill.
Yep.
And Boro got the 2.
Borbietsky, I can't say his name.
What I don't get is why they bought out Steve Santini to do that.
Right, to go get 2 old dudes that it's like the same role.
Especially when they brought back Jared Tenorti and said we want him to be a regular, and then they have Dante Fabro, who should be a regular for them.
Yep. It's definitely a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember the factory that we used to talk about being in Nashville? And now they've
churned out D. Yeah.
Now they've got Matt Benning, Mark Borowiecki, and Jared Tenorti as guys that are going to see serious ice time for them.
Shouldn't have traded Sam Girard, I guess.
The hell happened? And the guy they traded him for, they just bought out.
Yep. Kyle Turris, by the way, going to Edmonton for $1.65 million for 2 years.
Outside of the Brody deal, probably my favorite contract of the day.
Certainly one of the more savvy moves of the day.
Yeah. And like, look, maybe it doesn't work out and it's like, Edmonton, but given that it was 2 years and it's like $1.6 million.
Yep.
That's a great bet on their part that they get a decent Kyle Turris.
Yeah. Not an expensive gamble for them. A team that desperately needs top 6 forward help.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. They just need forward depth.
Yep.
They just need guys,
reliable guys. Yeah.
Guys with pulses who can give them okay minutes. Who just aren't going to go on the ice and give back everything that McDavid and Draisaitl have gotten them. Because McDavid and Draisaitl have that problem themselves. So and the Jets tried to give Roslovic the 2C job, and he just never really did much with it. Puljujärvi going back to Edmonton, that's who knows, right?
Yeah.
So that's it's good for him. I'm glad we're gonna get to see him in the NHL. And we're gonna get to answer the question.
Yeah. Who is that dude? We're gonna find out. So interesting stuff there. We can take our second period break as it is time to acknowledge Strava Craft Coffee, the CBD-infused coffee that has really changed lives. If you've never tried it before, it's a rich coffee, and you can use code DNVR20 to get 20% off your first order. I've seen some of the flavors. I actually don't know all of them, but I know Evan picked up some marshmallow coffee flavored. What are they called? S'mores flavored CBD coffee. So give it a try today. You can go down to the DNVR bar as well and pick it up cold brew there if you want to try it before you buy a full package of it. And if you sign up for their subscription service, you can get 20% off every single time you buy. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Rudo and AJ here trying to scrape something out of this free agency day. I guess some of the other curiosities around here: Wayne Simmons going to Toronto, Bobby Ryan going to Detroit, and
that stood out to me.
Yep.
Yeah, because Bobby Ryan would have been able to get that exact deal from any number of contending teams.
Yep.
That would have been intriguing, and instead it's like, is Detroit going to have another whatever they had 40 some odd point season?
Not good. It's not looking like it's going to be good. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then now he's just trade deadline fodder for a bad team.
Yep.
He's going to spend we're going to have a 62 game schedule, and he's going to spend the first 40 games of that just dicking around with the Red Wings and while they be bad.
Yeah, I guess I totally see it from the Red Wings side. They're saying, "Hey, we sign this guy and trade him for a 3rd round pick or whatever and get value." But
From the Red Wings perspective, this is easy. This is easy business between him and Sam Gagner.
Yep.
They've got guys that they can just dump on somebody at the deadline for a couple of draft picks and just keep doing their thing. It's the exact thing. It's like the one thing that Colorado just could not figure out how to do during their rebuild.
Yep. So that was interesting. Maybe the most interesting team, or at least the team that AJ and I were most confused by on the day, was Florida, signing Radko Gudas to a 3-year deal.
I'm still getting emails from their PR department about players that they've signed.
Signing Carter Verhaeghe to a 2-year deal. Signing Alex Winberg to a 1-year deal. And supposedly in on like everybody under the sun as a team that we thought, well, they have an internal cap and they're going to have to shed some stuff and figure it out. And they've just gone out and signed a bunch of random dudes.
Yeah. Team that does not need forward help goes out and gets Alexander Wenberg, Vinny Hinostroza, and Carter Verhaeghe, and Ryan Lomberg.
So
I don't know what Ryan Lomberg is, but they made a big deal out of his signings as well. So I do like Gudas and Nudavara on the back end. That should help them.
Yep.
But you want to know what's next.
It's not like there's helping, and then there's a key piece to the future, and neither of those guys are long-term effective pieces.
Yeah, Gudas there for the next 3 years at age 30. He's a mean third pairing guy for them. Yeah. Nudavara could probably be his partner.
Probably. So I don't know. I'm just trying to make heads or tails of this day, and I can't.
Yeah, it's the thing about this, and we've already said this, but this is what struck me about today. It wasn't that Hall and Pietrangelo didn't go. Usually those top guys don't, right? It's that everything behind them is all gummed up. And you have to assume that is because of Hall and Pietrangelo.
Because so many teams think they have a shot at these guys.
Yeah, and because these guys are willing to take a 1 or a 2 year deal because they're in a weird environment or whatever. Maybe they're not seeing the money that they thought they would get, and so they're open to those shorter deals. They have more of those to consider instead of it just being 1 or 2 teams. There's more for them to consider, and with that, I mean, you just have to take your time. You got to work through them. You got to talk to your family. Got to talk to your friends.
Yep.
Talk to your, work your connections and find out the ins and outs of an organization before you commit to them, even if it is just for a year or two. Because especially if you're gambling on yourself, you have to know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
If you go rolling into, I don't know, some random ass contract with Dallas, and they don't use you correctly,
or want you to play in their third line in a trap and not your offense or something. Yeah.
Your offense, Taylor Hall goes and signs there and puts up 35 points. Well, the whole 1 year gamble really isn't going to turn out because now he has to go out and do it again.
Yep. So definitely want to set yourself up for success if you're looking for a contract like that. On the Avs side of things, this should come as no surprise, but a lot of work left still to do with their RFAs. They've always been a team that takes their time with those.
Yeah.
So they'll figure that out over the course of the off season. I wouldn't worry too much about that or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if the one curiosity there, and the one that we've talked about before, is the sooner they get Landeskog's next contract done, the better idea they have of their cap going into the future.
Yeah, that'll be a big domino. Because I think right now they could probably just pencil in 10 for Makar.
Yeah.
And use that as kind of a number just to work off of. Yep. And hey, if it comes in at 9,
great.
Comes in at 8.75 or something, great.
Yep.
But plan for 10 just to be safe. With Landeskog, you got to know that number. They've got to figure that thing out in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
And I think with all the RFA talks starting to heat up, it should be easy. It should be easy enough. Those are two sides that are invested in each other.
For sure.
If you can't make that work, man, one of you is being too stubborn about something.
Agreed.
I can tell you Landeskog is going to make $5,571,429 next year.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry, that'll be his cap hit. He's actually going to make $6.5 million next year.
So, but that is a known quantity.
Yeah. After that, we'll see. With the cap not going up, you might see them try and squeeze him a little bit and use the Chris Kreider $6.5 million as a comparable. When you look at their careers, hard not to disagree. You could see the Anders Lee $7 million come into play. I think those are a good start.
Ooh. Someone is saying TJ Brody got an NMC.
He did get an NMC, and that is a big thing. That's like more than the years and more than the money. The Avs they definitely could not have done that.
They would not have been doing that.
That would have caused them a problem.
Well, the Leafs in a bit of an interesting spot there themselves. They have Muzzin on an NMC as well. And they'll be, I guess if they wanted to, they could expose Morgan Riley, I guess. But
it's just Riley, Muzzin, and Brody then,
really.
Right?
Yeah, because Sandin would be not. Yeah.
Yeah. So unless they do something else,
it's the Leafs.
I don't think they have to worry too much about it being a problem for them.
Yeah, probably right.
That's a team ripe for the picking for forwards too.
Yeah, that's true. When they're protecting Tavares, Matthews,
Marner, Nylander.
Will they have to protect Wayne Simmons because he is an NMC?
That was a 1-year deal, so no.
It is, but like he's technically still on the books.
It's expiring, so no.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, then Marner, Nylander, probably protecting Kerfoot, probably protecting Janssen.
What other deals are out? I'm just looking, trying to see Evander Kane's deal.
Yeah.
Anders Lee, Kyle Lapozo. Yeah, Landy really shouldn't get much. If he gets more than 7, it should not be much more.
Yeah. 7.5 is like a hard ceiling, I would think.
Yeah. I can see where Colorado would say 6.5 looking at this.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially knowing that in the COVID world of flat salary caps.
Yep.
So 6.5 might be a stronger conversation.
So, I mean, I don't know. Not much else happened today. AJ, you and I have been on a 4.5 hour hangout stream, so I don't really know how much more we have to say about the day.
Yeah, I mean, the Ryan Murray trade was crazy. Cap dump there for a great deal for New Jersey. But really, it's about the big dominoes over the weekend. And if the Avs do something big over the weekend, we'll hop on. We'll do an emergency pod.
Yep.
But really, some of these big dominoes have to move. Jim Benning talked about how hard it was for them to try and shed cap. So, trade talks around the league are what they are. It's tough sledding. I think the Tyler Johnson waiver thing tomorrow is going to determine a big piece of this as well, because the team that gets him, that's something that's somebody they don't have to sign. That's somebody they don't have to trade for. They just get a free piece, a free player that could fit into somebody's top 6 if they wanted him to.
Sometimes it's just that easy.
Yeah. So I think that's
just keep your eyes and ears peeled. What is this now?
The way that Morrow splits his Marines.
Okay, yeah. Well,
he just
pretty sick.
He just danced around 4 disruptors and lost almost nothing. Yeah, I've tried so many times. I've tried to learn how to micro Marines like
Can't
that.
do
it. My God.
It's impossible. It's actually impossible.
Yeah.
That's where this day is at this point. We're making StarCraft references because nothing happens.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that I'm going to screw up Kiefer Sherwood. I'm going to get him and Cole. I'm going to call him Cole. I'm going to call him Cole. His brother plays for Columbus. Yeah. And so I'm going to call him Cole, and I'm going to forget that he's Kiefer. So.
Hall to Boston. Hall won't decide today. So
whenever those decisions get made, we'll hop on and we'll have a conversation about them.
Yep. So keep your ear to the ground on that. If you see the Avs do something big, we'll be here. But until then, we're going to get out of here for the day. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, consuming the podcast however you may. Appreciate it. All of you who hung out on the chill stream earlier today. It was a total blast. Yeah, had a massive time.
It was a grand time for us. Just bullshitting with you guys all day.
Yeah, gotta love it. Love to do it. But we are done. Do have to shout out Colorado Raptors and our beat reporter Colton Strickler, who's now giving you all of the updates on everything American rugby, with the men's and women's USA Eagles 15 teams now practicing out of Infinity Park in Glendale. So if you want to get in on the best rugby America has to offer, that is the place to get it. And of course, you can check out the DNVR Rugby podcast that Colton puts out, as well as follow the DNVR Rugby Twitter, and just keep your eyes posted for anything and everything, even rugby. He even has 101 pods if you're new to the sport and you want to start getting into it. Supporting us and our partners is a huge part of what keeps us going, and DNVR Rugby is our newest foray as far as sports are concerned. So give that Twitter account a follow. And for us here on the Avs side, I'm sure you will hear from us very soon.